Hi everybody, my name is John Angerdon, and I'm here to talk to you today about Reconnective Healing, of which I am a practitioner in Vancouver. I have a clinic here in Vancouver, and I've been doing Reconnective Healing for about 10 years now. 10 years this year, I guess. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about it, short little bit about the history, and a bit about why quantum mechanics is a good way to describe what happens in reconnective healing, and about the two modalities we have called reconnective healing and the reconnection, and I'll give you some contact information. So, reconnective healing was discovered by a man called Dr. Eric Pearl. He was a chiropractor in LA, and he had what was called an axiotonal alignment done on him back around 1993, I believe it was, and it completely changed his life and overnight became somebody who could heal just by waving his hands in the air around people. And so he was, a bit surprised by all this, but he was a very conscientious scientific man, and he did a lot of research on what it was he was experiencing, and he found out the healing he was doing resembled nothing else on the planet at the time. And so he wrote a book called The Reconnection by Dr. Eric Pearl, Heal Others, Heal Yourself. It's a really good book to learn about the history of this work and learn his story, which is hilarious. It's a great read. Even if you never do anything else with reconnective healing, the book is worth reading. You can get it on Amazon. And there's also another book he authored with, it's called Solomon Speaks on Reconnecting Your Life. And that book was channeled to him by one of his former patients who became a channeler and channeled all this information mostly on how to do reconnective healing and how to live in the new consciousness that's evolving here on Earth. So that's the history of reconnective healing in a brief history. So people want to know what reconnective healing is, and reconnective healing is a form of energy medicine, probably one of the more advanced forms on the planet. And through quantum work, quantum physics and stuff, we now know that the body is made up of and connected to a large energy field, and that oftentimes the causes of people's diseases or disease is in the energy field of the person. It's sort of beyond the physical field. Now, the physical field that we live in, the four-dimensional field, is made out of height, width, depth, and time. And that's our four-dimensional box that we live in most of the time. And we think very linearly in that box, and we see things as having a beginning and an end, because eventually we all die, and that's the end of everything, But through the study of quantum physics and energy work, we realize that there's much more to it than that. And I think that outside of our four dimensions, that's when we enter the multidimensional field. They don't even delineate them because there's no linear thinking once you get beyond four dimensions. So there's no fifth dimension or anything. There's just ultimate multiple dimensions extending into infinity and beyond. Sounds like Buzz Lightyear, doesn't it? The interesting thing about for me, how I understand what goes on in that multidimensional field is it kind of mirrors. It's kind of us looking out at something that mirrors back to us, and a lot of the things that happen in that field, in the multidimensional field, are the opposite of the way they happen here on Earth. For instance, in healing, like a lot of times we treat in the four-dimensional world. A lot of times not always, but often we are just treating the symptoms, and whereas when you get into energy healing, into reconnective healing anyhow, a lot of times the source of the issue is treated. I'm not going to say all the time or 100%, but a lot of times, instead of, for an example, if I had a sore knee, and you might treat my knee, but really the problem might be coming from the hip, or it might be something psychological where I don't feel I have the ability to walk forward in life or something. It can be anything, and that's the beautiful thing about reconnective healing is the you might receive something that's physical. You might receive a physical healing. You might receive a mental healing if that's what you need next, or an evolutionary or a spiritual healing or a psychological healing. I've seen all these manifest in various people that I've worked with. And so some of the other opposite things that happen in that field is that time is not linear, and time can fold in on itself. Instead of this long path from from my hand to my shoulder to heal something, it folds in on itself, and it happens spontaneously. And I've had, not only it's happened spontaneously, but I've gone to treat people at their house or something like that, and they found out they had a healing the night before, because time is just has so many variations on how it can manifest, and it's not just straight linear. We do this today and we do that tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. Things happen. I'm always very surprised how things happen with reconnective healing. The healings can be lifelong in reconnective healing, because you're tapping into that opposite thing where when we're in our four-dimensional, things are entropic in our four-dimensional life, which means everything eventually breaks down and dissolves into dust, aging, for example, and eventually everything just falls apart. And a lot of times with injuries and with stuff that gets healed, oftentimes it'll reappear again, whereas in the multidimensional field, oftentimes healing will be lifelong, and instead of being entropic, it's negative entropic, where things go from worse to better, from non-health to health, sort of thing, from illness to well-being, and so that's another quality of reconnective healing. Another quality of healing, reconnective healing, and working within the quantum field is that distance healing works just as well as in-person healing. And I've done a lot of distance healings. All from Vancouver, I've done distance healings in Australia and in England, and I've been to many training classes where we train people to do distance healing, and 50 people in the room will do distance healing on people who are sometimes hundreds of miles, thousands of miles away, and almost without fail, there's some recognition of something happening in the person that they're working with. And I've seen this time and time and time again with distance healing. So all those things in reconnective healing are really helpful. They end up bringing a sense of wholeness and balance and vitality. And wholeness especially is a big trigger for me, because when I first did this work, I thought, well, yeah, it's me, it's just my whole being getting treated, but I sort of intellectualized it. But then I suddenly had the experience one day of how much more tuned to my bigger being I was, how much more tuned in I was to the multidimensional being that I am. I just felt bigger and bigger and bigger, and I felt like I was evolving and expanding more and more and more. And that's the beauty of working within the quantum field, is you start to tap into that infiniteness of who we are, which also brings with it infinite possibilities of healing. So in terms of healing, we tend to just consider ourselves as healers, as door openers that are helping be in the equation with you in order to help you heal in one of those ways, physical or mental or spiritual. And so it brings its wholeness, balance, and vitality, and it brings energy and light and information. And what that does, according to William Tiller, who's a professor emeritus of quantum physics from Stanford University, he said what that does is it makes us vibrate at a higher level. In other words, working within the quantum field, when you're working within reconnective healing, people are evolving, and they're evolving because they're realizing more of who they are. They're starting to get in touch with that bigger sense of themselves. So there's an evolution to this type of work, and as we study it more and time goes on, we're realizing how fast and we're evolving as a human race now. And this whole work, one of the reasons I do it is because it brings us to a new level of consciousness, which is what we really, really need in this world. So it's interesting. I'm talking about reconnective healing here, but I want to also bring in the other modality, which is called the reconnection. Now, the reconnective healing we're talking about, you need to come for 1 to 3 sessions at the beginning, so you get used to the energy a bit and let it evolve, and maybe come back 6 months when things have changed in your life. We never know what it's going to do, and can never tell you what it's going to do, but I'm always surprised at the results we get with people. It's always very, very surprising. But the second modality is called the reconnection, and in that modality, over 2 consecutive days, we draw these lines and grids over your body, and what that does is reconnects the ley lines of the planet through your acupressure system out onto the bigger grid of the universe, into that sort of timeless intelligence that exists out there, and it helps you evolve faster. It sort of speeds up your vibration a bit and takes you quicker towards your destiny. That's one of the general things we find that happens with that. And so it's beautiful to see people evolve like that and change their consciousness, and how instantaneous it can be and how fast it can be. And you can learn how to do this work very quickly. It entrains so easily with people. Some people feel the energy just by reading that book I showed you earlier, the reconnection, or some people just hear a bit about it and look into it, and suddenly they get really involved and want to evolve faster. And that's kind of what happened to me. And I read that book, and I was in LA in a month or 2 taking a course, and I immediately began to practice it, because you can learn how to do it from the book, or you can take a course, and which is way more fun. And for me, it sort of started me evolving, and while I was healing others, I immediately began to heal other people, and while I was healing them, I was also learning, and I was growing and evolving myself. Anytime I was in touch with that energy, I would often have the experience of what something meant or how it worked and that kind of thing. And it was never intellectual. It wasn't read a book, take a test, and get a piece of paper saying you know this now. It was a matter of hanging out and learning how to just get out of my own way, and then I would have the experiences I needed to have to learn, and they were definitely experiential, as opposed to trying to think your way into a state of I'm going to think my way into a quantum state, and it's not going to really work that way. There has to be it has to be more of an experiential thing, but it's not that hard to learn. You do not have to go into a cave for 50 years to learn how to do this. For most people, they read the book and go to a 2-day seminar, and maybe there's, I think, a course you got to do just before the seminar, and they get it. I go to seminars, and one thing I've noticed over the last 10 years is that people are getting it faster and faster and faster. The way we teach now is way faster than it used to be 10 years ago, and I can just see that speeding up and evolving over time. So when I do this work, I always end up just feeling like I'm in the love zone. That's what I call the quantum zone. It's like when you're in that zone, all you feel is love and compassion. What's evolved, what's changed in me is that I feel more connected to my bigger self. And as I became more connected to my bigger self, I felt more connected to everybody. How you feel inside is what mirrors outside for you. And I just feel much more evolved to feeling more connected to my whole Earth family and the ecology and all sorts of things, and animals. I'm starting to really love animals these days, and nature, and I feel a connection with it all now, whereas I used to think that was a good thing before, but I never experienced it before on this level. There's a lot of things I've experienced doing this healing, which I go, wow, that's the real experience, as opposed to the thought of it. And so I love talking about this work. So if you want to phone me and talk to me, or have a coffee, or talk online, or anything like that, please, if you have any questions, give me a call. You can reach me at 604-727-3218, or That's 604-727-3218. Give me a text, give me a call, or you can reach me online at John, John, at Reconnect in Vancouver. That's John, John, at Reconnect in, not ing, but in Vancouver, Vancouver.com. And you can see my website, which is www.reconnectinvancouver.com. And if you want to go to the bigger website for the head of the organization in Los Angeles, that's thereconnection.com. So please feel free to contact me if you have any questions or want to hear more about this or just have a chat. I'm always open for that. And I want you to know that this work just leaves you in a sense of love, and you can't do this work unless you get rid of your ego, but it doesn't take long to learn how to do that. And just want to say thank you for listening, and I'm yours in love and light. Thank you. Bye for now.